A record is never something to stand on. It's something to build on. And in building on this record, I believe that we have the secret for progress. We know the way to progress. And I think, first of all, our own record proves that we know the way. Senator Kennedy has suggested that he believes he knows the way. I respect the sincerity with which he makes that suggestion. But on the other hand, when we look at the various programs that he offers, they do not seem to be new. They seem to be simply retreads of the programs of the Truman administration which preceded it.
Richard Nixon was, for all intents and purposes, correct in his comments about promises made by fellow presidential candidate John Kennedy. And when that debate was televised in 1960, Nixon was considered by all the blowhard pundits as the man to beat for the White House. After all, what could a former war hero with relatively little government experience hope to do against a man of Nixon's political stature?
I know that there are those who say that we want to turn everything over to the government. I don't at all. I want the individuals to meet their responsibilities. And I want the states to meet their responsibilities. But I think there is also a national responsibility. The argument has been used against every piece of social legislation in the last 25 years. The people of the United States individually could not have developed the Tennessee Valley. Collectively, they could have. A cotton farmer in Georgia, or a peanut farmer, or a dairy farmer in Wisconsin or Minnesota, he cannot protect himself against the forces of supply and demand in the marketplace. But working together in effective governmental programs, he can do so.
You notice that piece of spittle that was from time to time connecting Kennedy's upper and lower teeth? He was probably just as nervous as Nixon, yet the sweat didn't show up on his chin. Kennedy was the better-looking candidate, the younger-looking candidate, and thus the better candidate for an electorate already coming under the broadcast spell. Kennedy won that debate more on style than on substance. It truly was the beginning of a new political era where, thanks to the boob tube, America made their choice more on how something was said instead of what was said and what it would mean to their futures. Of course, winning with style can often be advantageous when your opponent was already being considered as the greatest electoral mistake in generations.
These are the kind of elements of a national health insurance important to the American people. Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again. When I opposed Medicare, there was another piece of legislation meeting the same problem before the Congress. I happened to favor the other piece of legislation and thought that it would be better for the senior citizens and provide better care than the one that was finally passed. I was not opposing the principle of providing care for them. I was opposing one piece of legislation as versus another.
Ronald Reagan sewed up the presidency that night with a smile, a line that made history, and ideas that the American people were waiting for. He turned the trick again in 1984 with yet another masterful verbal stroke.
You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Even Walter Mondale knew that was the moment he lost the election. The Gipper carried 49 out of 50 states, and Mondale won his home state of Minnesota by less than 3,800 votes. Ancient history, boys and girls. Thursday night, 10 men will take a podium in Cleveland, Ohio, and the odds are that one of them will represent the Republican Party in the 2016 election. Certainly, there can be an upset of historical proportions, but I believe this time we're good to make that claim. There will be a lot of theater, plenty of chances at memorable one-liners, lots and lots of hairspray. And to paraphrase a great line of rock and roll, there is a desperate need that more than any other time in our nation's history, we don't get fooled again. Let's see if you can stay away from the shiny things and avoid being baffled by all the bozos. After all, keep this in mind. Clown makeup only covers so much. That's my opinion, telling it like it is. Oh, and don't forget, coming up on Friday, we'll have complete post-debate coverage with all those great one-liners as well. Rock on, true believers. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow night on the fastest 60 minutes in news, The Hard Line.